Welcome, everybody. I can see folks are filing in right now to our Portrait into Practice Performance Tasks Unveiled webinar. So delighted that you all could be here today. Just so excited to yet have completed another phase of the portrait work. It's been an amazing journey, 3.5 years, essentially up till this point. With so many resources and so much rich learning and interaction with educators throughout the state of North Carolina. We're just truly blessed and very excited that you're here today. While we're getting started, would you mind just sharing in the chat what you hope to learn today about the performance tasks and how you or the performance tasks themselves support the portrait of a graduate work? Just take maybe 2 or 3 minutes to do that while we wait for others to join. Tammy has typed in the chat about just curious about what they are and how they work and how long they take and how they were put together and all the good things. Excited about that. Love this idea of application in our classrooms. That's amazing. And some people are just putting, I want to know everything. Very excited about that too. Just this whole idea that we really are breaking new ground in North Carolina as it relates to really integrating intentionally and with very, very high quality the durable skills into our classroom experiences, really trying to move towards this deeper learning model, which incorporates both the academic and the durable skills found in the portrait to ensure that our kiddos are ready for a very confident and yet ever-changing life after they graduate from high school. Because I think we all kind of now really recognize more so than ever that when you finish high school, that's not the end. That's very much the beginning. So we need to make sure that our students are ready for that. Love, love, love what I'm seeing here. Excited about, and I think we're going to hit the mark in many ways. And I see that Superintendent Catherine Truitt has come off of her video. Hi, good afternoon. So delighted that you're here with us today. And we've asked the state superintendent to kick off our afternoon workshop. And I just couldn't be more proud to work for a state superintendent than I am for this person, Catherine Truitt. We have had a remarkable 3.5 years. We've gotten incredible work done. It's all anchored on strategy. But even more so than that, what is really going to move the dial for our children? And how can we ensure that they are prepared for the post-secondary plan of their choice? So not only was she a classroom teacher, turnaround coach, she is one of the most amazing bosses that I've ever had the privilege to work for. And I'm going to turn the mic over to Superintendent Catherine Truitt to welcome you all today.
Oh, thanks so much, Christy. And thanks also to all of our friends at Patel for Kids who've been our partner, helping us along the way to make all 3 of these phases a reality for all of you and your students. I'm so excited that we're finally at this phase because, so often when new things come down the pike, they do turn into just one more thing that as teachers you have to do. And the goal for us all along was to make this something that wouldn't turn into just one more thing that you all would have on your plates. We wanted to make this as easy as possible so that you would want to use this and would enjoy using this. I saw quickly that there was a quick question in the chat that someone asked, is this going to change graduation requirements? No, this is not a top-down initiative. This is something that we did on behalf of you all, of our counselors, our principals, our teachers, central office folks, because we know you don't have time to do this. And we wanted to be able to give you permission to integrate all of these incredible durable skills in a way that maybe sometimes you feel like you didn't have time to do because you're having to get ready for high stakes testing and so on and so forth. So our hope today is that you are going to learn so much about how these things could be integrated in the daily work that you're doing already with your kiddos, and that you'll also see how easy it will be because they're already aligned to the North Carolina Standard Course of Study. You're going to get a blueprint today. You're going to see very clear and detailed lesson plans. These are actual, it's like, I remember when those golden days when someone would hand me a shovel-ready lesson plan that was so high quality. The materials were already put together. Everything was aligned to the standards, and it was ready to go. That was always a good day when that happened. So I think that you'll find that, first in phase one, we had the rubrics for each of the 7 competencies or durable skills. Then we had the I can statements. And now this is really the icing on the cake. These just incredible lesson plans that are shovel ready for all of you to use. So I just can't thank Christy Van Auken enough for making this vision a reality. We know that content is important in our classrooms, but it's not enough. We have to make sure that students are learning how to be adaptable, that they're learning how to have empathy in the day-to-day work that they're doing, that they have to be collaborators, that they have to have a learner's mindset, that we're preparing them to do something after high school. We don't know what it will be, but we know that whether they are employed, enlisted, or enrolled after high school, that it's going to require them to have that learner's mindset, to be adaptable, to have accountability, all of those 7 things. So I just can't thank you enough for being willing to join today, because again, this is not required. It's not required that you integrate the 7 durable skills into the work that you're doing. But I think that you all know how important it is, and that's why you're here today. So thank you again, and have a great time on the webinar. And it's just incredible to see so much energy in the chat. And hopefully you'll give us some good feedback on how today went. So Christy, I'm going to kick it back to you.
Thank you, Superintendent Truitt. All right, so we're going to keep moving on, and we've got a lot to cover today. So I thought that I would just spend just a very few moments going over the portrait story. And many of you have been on this journey with us the whole time, but some of you might be new to the process. And so very quickly, I will share with you that we launched the portrait in October of 2022, but that was on the culmination of a 9-month design process that we leveraged stakeholders from across the state, 1,200 design team members from across the state, to really start to narrow down the durable skills that were most important to you, not to DPI and not to a bunch of, muckety mucks in Raleigh, but very much, what really mattered to stakeholders across our state. And so we leveraged not only our educators and our parents and our students and our administrators and our schools, but we also leveraged higher education, workforce development boards, and then also social service agencies and faith-based communities to really come in and tell us what was most important. Next slide, please. And so our why has always been, this has really guided our work from the very beginning. And it's this idea that students, need the academic knowledge, yes, but in order for them to be successful when they graduate from high school and beyond, they have to have these durable skills, and that our employers are telling us that the students are not coming with these skills that they really are going to require to be successful in the workplace. So the idea of starting to think about workforce readiness in K-12 has really driven our work and really made the background, the anchoring, the foundation of the portrait and our durable skills that much more valuable as we continue to talk around the state about why we're making this shift. Next slide, please. So our goal all along, as the superintendent just suggested, is to make sure that you as educators have all the tools that you need to provide the kind of deeper learning experience that we know is going to prepare our children in a different way, in a strategic way, for a successful and bright future. So this idea that we want to make sure that you don't feel like you have to do this alone, even unpacking the rubrics. We know that you know what a rubric is, but how can we help you make that more successful? Take your current lesson plans and apply the portrait competencies, the durable skills, the rubrics, the I can statements to really create relevant learning for our students. Next slide, please. All right, so this kind of gives you an idea of the scope of the work. So we developed the rubrics, the I can statements, T-charts, that's all been published. That happened about a year ago, if you can believe it. And then we kicked right off into creating these performance tasks, which is December of this year. And it has been an amazing journey. Again, we leveraged the resources, the talents of our teachers and administrators across the state to really help us design this. And we couldn't have done it without our partners at Battelle for Kids, but we very much couldn't have done it without the educators that were part of this journey from the very beginning. So that's what we're here to do today. And then we are already kicking off with the development of some online learning modules so that we're sure that these resources aren't just a moment in time, but that you can reflect back, that you can point new educators in your school system to the work that we've done, and that you're going to have additional resources that'll all be available on Canvas to keep the work moving forward. Next slide. All right, so just very quickly, the superintendent gave me some credit, but this is not work that can be done alone. So I have deep gratitude to Dr. Andrew Smith and Dr. Angie Mullenix, who've really joined me in this journey to make sure that you have high quality resources, that we gut check each other all the time. And the support that we've had from Battelle for Kids has really been phenomenal. So we're doing things in the state of North Carolina that aren't being done anywhere else in the United States. And it's largely because of this team here. And so, yay, thank you, Angie. Thank you, Andrew, for your incredible work over the last couple of years. Next slide. All right, so we've got a poll here. I'm curious about Canvas. Kelly, we'll get back with you on that because I'm sure we do. So we'll be keeping notes too from the chat to make sure that we circle back with all of you and both what you want to be doing today and that we're answering questions like this. All right, so let's focus quickly on the poll. To what degree are you integrating durable skills into the teaching of academic content? So Erin, would you mind launching this poll for us, please? Thanks, Ida. Well, while Erin is working on that, she's working feverishly behind the scenes. Yeah, throw a couple things in the chat for me so that we can start to see how you are integrating. I love the idea of using it for projects, anything that's experiential, hands-on. That's when we see the most engagement and the most excitement about learning from our students when we visit classrooms and they're thinking about how to integrate the durable skills. I'd like to use more. Durable skills are inherent in arts. Yes, Laura. Yes, they are. Okay, so you guys all saw the poll. This is awesome. So now we're seeing some of the results come in. To what degree are you integrating durable skills into the teaching of academic content? And this is great. This is actually where we expected we would be. Regularly, about 18%, somewhat. So at least half of you here today are integrating the durable skills, dabbling, figuring it out. And then some are just like, okay, just seeing, getting my toes in the water a little bit. And this is new to us to 10%. And honestly, as we continue to go through this journey, this is exactly where we would think we would be. You're not behind. Everybody is exactly where they should be as we continue to work to deepen our integration of the durable skills of this kind of new way of learning, right? So it's all about learning, less about just a single lesson or an academic skill, but very much about how do we create these dynamic learning environments. So thank you for that. That is super helpful for us. Use critical thinking and empathy in reading novels. Love that. So there's a lot of ways that we can do the integration of durable skills, and just starting to think about what you're already doing in your classroom can really be beneficial. All right, so Dr. Shannon King has come off of her out of the black and into the light. Delighted that you're here, Shannon. Thank you so much for your work and your leadership. Dr. Shannon King is the Chief Learning Officer at Battelle for Kids and has been a partner with us through this last 2 years of work, the last 2 phases, and will take us home with the learning modules. So we've invited Dr. King to go over today's outcome and to take it from here. So thanks again to all of you for being here, and Dr. King, take it away.
Awesome. Thank you. So excited you're joining us today to share in this really exciting work. And excited to see the chat. What you're curious about aligns with what we've planned. So that's awesome. The outcomes for the rest of our hour together today are really to understand the structure and the set of performance tasks that are available and give you a little behind the scenes into the process. Let you gain some insight from the educators that were in the journey of creating those and implementing those performance tasks, and just share some practical tips for how you might use those tasks using the implementation guide. It's one of the resources available to you. So we'll walk you through what's there, give you a little background, and hopefully set you up for success with these wonderful skills and these wonderful tasks. Here we go. So I want to give you a little background, walk you through briefly the process we use to create these performance design tasks and the amazing educators that helped create them that Christy and Superintendent Truitt referred to. We were so blessed to be able to work with extraordinary educators from across the state. Over 70 K-12 educators came together after Thanksgiving last year in the early December to really collaborate and design these performance tasks. This performance task design team was composed of some of these extraordinary folks you see on the screen, people that were serving as building administrators, central office staff, coaches, teachers, and more. Great variety of and diversity of thought participating in the work. And so our heartfelt gratitude to them and to these authors that took the time, spent the hours, came to the meetings to really create these tasks. Their hard work made this possible. So please like to lift them up with gratitude. And then the performance task field testers. So we wanted to make sure these tasks were high quality, and we're curious about what happened when students got their hands on them. So some really wonderful field testers came together, and they played the critical role of implementing the tasks with students, and then providing feedback to us, and then bringing the student artifacts so we could really see, did this work the way we expected it to? And that supported the final revisions in this work. And then we had a lovely, lovely, lovely group of educators from within NCDPI, our performance task review team, the content specialists that know those standards inside and out. They came together to really provide overall feedback throughout the design process. And that fantastic team of leaders also made a significant contribution to this process. So we really thank them for all the hard work. And here is your Battelle for Kids team. Again, a great group of folks that really we were on the back end kind of facilitating the moments, helping to support, and really so passionate about this work and excited to be able to help educators across the state do this work. And so let's take a peek at these performance tasks by looking at the criteria and looking at the process that we use to create them to ensure that they were the highest quality that we can make them. So in these performance tasks, we want to make sure that students demonstrate their learning of content standards and the targeted durable skills, and that they reflect on their performance and growth. We want them to really own the process and their development in those durable skills. And we used a blueprint to help guide the process. And so the blueprint, Erin's going to share a link to that blueprint in the chat right now, and we're going to review the components of that blueprint, which guided the design. And so this slide really just shows the question that kind of guided the thinking as we created the tasks. What are the components of a task with a solid foundation, a frame, tools, and a path to deeper learning for all students? Again, that really elevates those durable skills and integrates them with your state standards. And so we'll start by looking at the foundation. Now, the foundation, a task that has a strong foundation for deeper learning really has the learning goals clearly defined. So this is no guesswork on the part of the educator or the student, what we're doing or what we're aiming for. Those disciplinary content and durable skills are targeted and clear. And in addition to factual knowledge, key disciplinary concepts and ideas that transfer are captured. Really, we want to get to deeper learning through transfer. That's the strong foundation of each and every task. Then we move into the frame. A strong frame for deeper learning invites students to create complex products that demonstrate learning and support skill transfer. Those tasks are really framed around a compelling focus question that supports inquiry, sparks curiosity, engages students to really practice those durable skills. In addition, we really think about the tools. We want to make sure you have the tools. These tasks have clear tools that support you, that are building on those wonderful resources available to you on the Portrait of a Graduate website, those I can statements that provide a way for students to really personally reflect and think about their own self-assessment in addition to the feedback from their teachers. The tools also include criteria for feedback that are relevant, clear, direct, and logically progressive. They use descriptive language to match the performance levels and are clear to students so as they guide their work, but also as they evaluate their work. And then finally, because we know we want these tasks to be available for all learners, scaffolding and accessibility was really important to us as we created the task. So there's a solid plan in place there that invites all students to engage in work that is appropriately complex and challenging. It asks that all students have equal access to information and that they can transfer that into usable knowledge, whether they're learning English or whether they have 504s or IEPs. We want to make sure we're providing access to all students. And then the resources that are provided by the teacher are carefully selected to ensure engagement and accessibility. So all of these things are part of that blueprint that was there guiding our design from the very beginning. So I'm going to pause for a minute. I feel like I talked at you a lot. Just take a minute to review that blueprint. And then when you're ready, please share in the chat which of those design criteria are especially important to you when you think about designing performance tasks. Oh, thank you, Tammy. The authenticity. Yes, absolutely. You'll see there's such a wide variety of products the students are creating, and authenticity was kept at the forefront as we thought about what kind of products we wanted the students to create. And the educators were so creative when we came up with the ideas. Oh, thanks, Drew. Yeah, scaffolding. Tim as well. Absolutely. Right. We want to keep the thinking levels high, but scaffold for language load and scaffold for the areas where students need support. And alignment to the standards. Yes, absolutely. And authenticity, Carrie. Great point. Thank you. So many wonderful, wonderful ideas here. And you have this blueprint. So again, you're going to have a wonderful cross section of tasks to start with. But if you would like to build your own, this blueprint, you've got that to support you as well. So let's keep moving in the interest of time. That performance task design studio here. These are the steps really we went through using the blueprint during that design studio time. We had a 2-day performance design workshop, and some of the educators, I think, are even on the webinar that participated. We were so excited to be with you in person to engage in those 2 days. Our essential question was, how can we design an engaging performance task that integrates both disciplinary content as laid out in those state standards and durable skills? And this slide again shows that process we went through to develop and build those tasks. And then over several months, every task went through a rigorous process of design, field testing, revision, iteration. All those people on the slides that we shared just a few moments ago really helped shape and move the tasks forward to the publishing piece. And so let's take a look at these tasks. Let's dive into them. After a high level overview, I'm going to show you where you can locate the documents and pause and let you kind of play around for a little and explore so that you can kind of see these amazing tasks for yourselves. The tasks address a range of content areas you can see on the screen. We wanted to try to make sure that all the different content areas were addressed somewhere. They also address a range of grade levels. So you'll see, again, tasks, and they can be adapted. We believe, if you need to adapt them, they're there and they're intended for you to be able to use them in whatever way makes sense for your learners. So let's access. Let me show you how to access them. Thank you, Erin, for chatting the link to that webpage. If you go to the Portrait of a Graduate webpage, and I hope you've been there, it's amazing. There's so many cool resources and tools that are there. This is just the latest addition to that awesome webpage. Go to that webpage, and then you scroll to the middle of the Portrait of a Graduate page, and then you locate all the classroom resources, including performance tasks. You'll see that performance task tab is now there. And once you click on that performance task tab, you'll find links to the various task resources by grade span. The links also include FAQs, a summary document, and an implementation guide. So if you're an administrator or a coach and you're supporting other educators, check out that implementation guide. I think that will be very, very helpful. Now, to make these really usable and accessible and educator friendly, we made sure, we want to make sure you could actually get to them. So when you click on the performance task grade span link, it opens up into a Google Drive where you can access the resources. And so you can see on the screen here, this example takes you to task resources for grades 3 to 5. And then there is a 5th grade science task there, and you'll find the task in a Google Doc format and all the support resources linked. I know Superintendent Truitt mentioned she wanted them to be really ready for you. So all those tasks that the teacher designed and field tested are linked within the document. They're also in a resources folder that's there so that you have everything you need. Now, the Google Docs are linked from the webpage. They're view only, so you're going to want to make a copy and save it to your own Google Drive or save it wherever you like to save your things so that you can actually have access to them. You can make a copy. Any tweaks you're going to make to the task, you'll have your own personal copy. So I'm going to pause there because I feel like I've talked at you a lot. So I'm going to give you a chance to browse through the tasks. And you guys said authenticity was important. And so you can see here on the word cloud, the variety of different products students are creating in these tasks. So excited. So I'm going to pause. You've got a summary document there that just kind of shows you the big picture of everything. If you're a big picture person like me, you might appreciate that big picture view, or you can just go straight to the website and start clicking around and playing with the different tasks that are there. So I'm going to pause for a few moments. I think maybe we'll pause for like 3 or 4 minutes at least and let you play around. And if you have notes or comments or wonderings, please feel free to post them in the chat and we'll let you take a look. Oh, nice. I'm glad for the positive feedback. Tracy, we will check on that 6-8 for you. And yes, Laura, the recording will be available. We'll share that and post it so that people who missed it will be able to join. Kelly. I see there's a great desire for middle school math. All right, we are going to take that under advisement, guys. Great question. Again, we have a cross-section of tasks available based on the educators and the background of the educators who signed up for our design studio. And we created several, and we'll look into, we've got a couple more that are coming out very soon. We'll absolutely look at finding ways to connect people so we can get more examples out there for you all. And I know your regional superintendents have meetings. There's some different things happening there. Thanks, Joanne, for posting the link again. You can take a look there. Yes, Wendy, arts is coming very, very soon. We got 2 tasks in arts that were just finalized last week. And so those will be made public very, very soon. Thank you for your patience. I know, yay. You're going to be excited. They're very, very cool. Good question for permission to copy. I am not sure about that part. I am not our tech person. I will let Joanne respond to that perhaps in the chat. All right, I think we've got a little bit more to share with you during our session today. So again, you've got the link, you've got the overview. We will post this recording later. So if you want to share with others, we are excited for you to do that. At this time, I'm going to introduce my colleague, Sarah Hallerman. She is going to walk us through a spotlight slide, a spotlight task to take a deep dive into one of these wonderful tasks. So Sarah, I will let you take it away.
Thank you so much, Shannon. Well, I hope that you enjoyed the opportunity to begin browsing. I know it will take some time because there's a lot of content that we have curated that we're so excited to share. So at this point, Shannon talked with you about the design criteria that really grounded the design of our task that we aimed to meet as we were designing these tasks. And she also talked to you about how to access the tasks. What I'd like to do now is just take a moment and spotlight one of the tasks. And what I'm going to do is really try to focus on this notion of integrating durable skills into the teaching of academic content. And then the short segment at the end, I am going to wrap up by just asking you a question, a feedback question. We're going to do one more poll and open up the chat so you can share a little information with us. We just want to check in with you again to see how you're feeling and more specifically about the integration of these durable skills. Just to give you a heads up, I'm going to ask you which of these skills you believe might be the most challenging to integrate into the teaching of academic content. So let's go ahead and dive into the spotlight task, which happens to be a 5th grade task, exploring weather, wonders for safe and sound days. All right, so our task designer, who I know is on this call because I've seen her active in the chat, she has been so incredibly involved with this entire project through all the phases and has worked so hard. Candace Fenton Hayes, she's a STEAM educator, an awesome STEAM educator, so creative in her practice and demonstrates so much concern for her students. And she's with Mount Airy City Schools, and she designed more than one task. She focused on grades 3 through 5 science in particular. But as I mentioned, in this particular spotlight, I'm going to focus on her 5th grade task. So this task is anchored in the following science standard. Analyze and interpret weather data to explain current and upcoming weather conditions, including severe weather such as hurricanes and tornadoes in a given location. We can go to the next slide. All right, so this task integrated 2 specific durable skills. First, it integrated critical thinking and specifically the following 3 criteria: information discovery and research, solution finding, and justification. This task also integrated learner's mindset, and this one particular criteria, persistence. I'm going to go ahead and read the prompt. So all of the performance tasks open with a focus question. So the focus question for this is, how can we improve a housing condition to withstand an extreme weather condition? In this performance task, you will complete an engineering design process to improve a housing design to withstand an extreme weather condition. You'll choose an extreme weather condition: flood, hurricane, blizzard, or tornado. After analyzing extreme weather data and learning from experts in weather and structural design, specifically housing design, you will collaborate with a team to design and build a prototype of a housing structure. Then you'll test it to see if it can withstand your selected extreme weather condition. After reflecting, you will use your critical thinking and learner's mindset to design a final prototype, and you will reflect. So that is the prompt, and you will see, again, a focus question and a prompt that appears in every one of the tasks. So I want to just revisit this notion of integrating durable skills. In this case, it was critical thinking and learner's mindset into the explicit teaching of academic content. So Candace, what she did with her students is she took them through an engineering design process. And in that process, the students, presented them with an engaging challenge, something they got incredibly excited about. She said they were on the edge of their seats with excitement. And they had the opportunity to interact with experts in the field who knew a lot about weather. They also interacted with people who knew about engineering design and constructing buildings. And in order to get to the point at which they were working with materials, which they really wanted to do, they had to build a lot of background knowledge about science. They had to understand how to read weather reports. And in fact, they had to write a weather report. They had to do a lot in something that was called an engineering design notebook. So she took them through this process that integrated a lot of critical thinking, specific aspects of critical thinking throughout the journey. They were reflecting using tools provided, and just really learning a lot and building excitement throughout. It required them to test, reflect, improve, and share. We can go on to the next step. So here are some pictures of what this looked like. I see a smile on Candace's face. I see an expert sharing, and I see students getting ready to do something very exciting. So Candace said that they had an absolute blast in this experience. And what she did for them is she provided an authentic context for these students to learn rigorous academic content while learning these specific durable skills. So let's go on to the next slide. All right, so what we would like to do is we invite you to answer this question. Which durable skill do you think is the hardest to integrate in the teaching of academic content? So we're challenging you to choose one. And then in chat, we'd like to know why you chose that. And we're specifically asking this question because our work is not finished. We're in the process of creating some modules that that educators across the state will have access to. And we're also preparing to have office hours that we will host specifically related to these performance tasks to tell you more and answer your questions. So we thought that this would be helpful. So go ahead and respond to that poll, and Erin can show us how you're feeling, share the results, and then we encourage you to share and chat. Which one do you think will be hardest and why? Pause for a moment. Interesting comments coming through in chat. I see empathy, critical thinking, because students are very Google oriented. They go straight to Google anytime a challenge is presented. Yes. Yes. And the beautiful thing about these tasks, the ones that are anchored in critical thinking, is that the critical thinking process is carefully scaffolded for the students, and materials are available so they can make each step of the critical thinking process, each aspect of critical thinking, transparent or visible, and they can reflect about critical thinking. Very helpful. All right, I see the results. Very interesting. Okay, empathy at 43%. It looks like we have a tie with critical thinking and adaptability. All right, very interesting. Okay, comments are very helpful. Personal responsibility, because students are still learning to take ownership for their work. Okay. Well, we will use this information. We are going to download the chat and read it all carefully. And when we prepare for the office hours, which you'll hear a little bit more about at the end of this webinar, we will take this information into consideration. Thank you so much. So at this point, I am going to invite Andrew to talk to us about this implementation guide that we've created that is a part of this bank of materials. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah, and good afternoon, everybody. I'm impressed to see all of you here at the end of a school year when you could probably be doing a lot of other things. You're here with us, learning about new opportunities for your kids, and that says a lot about you. And your students are certainly benefiting from this opportunity to hear about something I think good teachers have been doing all along, and that is thinking outside of just academic standards and thinking about the durable skills that they're helping their students develop. So we've thrown a lot at you today. And so you're probably wondering, okay, all the resources, how do I go about actually implementing this next school year? And so we've been thinking about that as well. And we have been working on this implementation guide, which is an opportunity for you to think about academic standards as well as the durable skills and where they come together inside of lessons. So the implementation guide, just so you know, is an opportunity to scaffold the process that you're going to use as you start to build your own durable skill performance tasks as well. So we have a series of examples for you, and you'll see those inside the implementation guide. And those are meant to show you as an exemplar what it might be, what it might look like to incorporate things like empathy or adaptability inside of a lesson plan for you. So we're actually going to throw in the chat here a link to the implementation guide. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the components inside of the guide. And so what I'd love for you to be able to do is kind of walk through this with me so you can kind of see what's inside of it. So when you open up this document, and I can see all of you flooding in as little anonymous animals inside of this Google Doc, is to kind of scroll down past the introduction. It's the things we've been talking about already, and jump down to the section that looks specifically at the blueprint. We want to make sure you guys understand the really intentional process that was used to design these. And you can kind of read through those. We won't look at them all today, but we want to make sure that you understand that it was a really intentional design process that the Battelle for Kids staff has helped lead. And so you'll see that section. And then I'm going to draw your attention to specifically on page 5, looking at planning a pilot, planning to use one of these performance tasks in your classroom. And so the first step, like any good lesson plan that you're designing collaboratively with other educators, is to form a committee and to think specifically about who should be on that committee. Now, that might actually mean you got to think about which performance task you want to use first, because some of the performance tasks will span multiple grade levels, whereas others might just be for one. So kindergarten, as an example, there's a kindergarten lesson. So if you're choosing that one, you want to form a committee of other educators who are also teaching kindergarten so that you're hitting the right standards. But you're going to think about who should be in that group. Should that be teachers? Should that other teachers, administrators, especially maybe in this first one you try so that your principals can see how you're using this in their classroom. But also think about those coaches that might be in your school as well that might be new to thinking about including durable skills and measuring those in a lesson. Then you kind of get to do the fun part. You get to kind of shop through our list of performance tasks. And so what you'll see is down on page 8 of the implementation guide, you'll see kind of the menu or the list of all the performance tasks, the exemplars that we've created for you. And so what you'll see inside of that section are some important details. First, you'll get to see the grade level that it's looking specifically at. You'll see a title. You'll see kind of a catchy title around how we're going to engage kids in both the content and the durable skills. But listed right below that, and really importantly, you'll see the alignment to our standard course of study. And so we wanted to be very explicit when you're teaching these that you can see the connection to academic standards, right? We're not just teaching communication and empathy in a specials class later on. This is being interwoven into the work of our classrooms. So you'll see those two sections. You'll see a focus question that you're going to be really looking at kind of as the kind of lesson header. And then finally, you're going to see what are the students making? Because remember, in these lessons, this is all about student voice and choice. You'll have an opportunity to see what is it that kids will kind of be producing as a result of our performance task. So once you and your small committee have picked which of the performance tasks you'd like to use, which might also mean looking at when you're going to be teaching that. So although you might really want to teach that lesson the second week of school, you may not be quite in the curriculum just yet. So be thinking through that. And then you're going to pilot that work. And so we believe that if you can try this in more than one classroom, the more folks, the better. So you can really glean some feedback from it. But you're then going to incorporate that lesson into your work. And as part of that, you're going to be thinking about as with any good lesson plan, you're looking at, all right, what worked with these set of kids, and what's something I need to really think about and hone for the next time I teach it. As a former biology teacher, I had 3 biology classes back to back to back. And I can promise you, by the third time I taught the lesson, it was much better than the first. And so it's that same iterative process that we're going to be using as we think about the performance tasks. So you implement that lesson plan. That could take several days, depending on which of them you choose. You're then going to come back together as a team and analyze and reflect on your experiences. And so you're going to be looking back at some of the notes that you took. You're going to be talking through those student products, the quality of those student products. And we know that that process can be maybe overwhelming, right? That's an extra layer. So we wanted to also provide you with kind of a reflection protocol. So you'll see down underneath on page 6, you're going to see a reflection protocol. And so this is something you could be doing in a PLC, but it outlines specifically what you should be doing as you're thinking about reflecting on that performance task. And as you go through that, you're going to be able to come up with great takeaways that you can then use, not only if you teach that lesson again, but more importantly, as you start thinking about building out your own performance assessments moving forward. So again, these are exemplars meant to help you think about what it really looks like to integrate these well. They were made by great educators across our state exactly for you and your kids. So we hope that you'll be able to take this implementation guide and use it as a way to propel your work into the next school year. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Christy Van Locken.
Thank you, Andrew. I'm really excited about that implementation guide. And I saw in the chat that there's a question about a specific content area. And I wish that we could have made performance tasks for every subject area across the board, but sadly we just couldn't. So we've got 16 exemplars that we will publish, and we'll ask you to use those to create your own and to continue this work inside your school based on your preferences and the way that your teaching and learning works the best for your students. So I wish that we had more, but this is at least going to get you started. 16 amazing tasks. So what you see right now is our exit slip, and this is how we will be able to send you a certificate of completion for your CEUs. So please just take a moment to let us know how we did and what else we can provide for you in terms of resources and additional professional development as we prep for office hours, which will be next in August. So when you come back to school, go have a wonderful summer and refresh yourself. But before that, please fill out today's exit slip. Thank you.
Yes. And Christy, I'll build on what you were saying. Again, the blueprint is there to help you if you want to design your own tasks. Please avail yourself of that resource. Let us know where else we can share, because coming August, we'll do some facilitated learning for you in these office hours, dedicated time for you. Some great, especially if you're going to be building your own, some ways to use AI to enhance the performance tasks. And a chance for you to ask some questions. Maybe we can talk middle school math at that time. I'd love to do that with some of you. But thank you for thinking about that. Share with us in the exit slip how we can help you in those office hours. And then, as Christy mentioned at the beginning, as you're filling out your slip, we're developing modules to help think about implementation of these tasks and these tools for for you. And those modules will be available this fall. They're being developed right now, highlighting a lot of these tasks and the educators who help make them possible. And Christy, here we go. Chance for you to show up and collaborate with others.
Yes, for sure. So again, this year, because it is such a priority for the state of North Carolina, we will be featuring Portrait of a Graduate at the AIM conference, which is September 7th through 9th. And for all of our educators that are on the webinar today, your admission is free. So you don't have to pay a thing to come to AIM. We will have our amazing resource experts from Patel for Kids there to help you in designing your own performance tasks. Again, this is in October, so we'll also have many, we hope, of our amazing designers that helped us with the 16 that we've been able to publish so far to also work one-on-one with you. So we hope to be able to provide different levels. So maybe for secondary, for the younger kiddos and for the secondary kiddos. So lots of opportunity for you to continue to grow and to stretch your muscles as it relates to integrating and creating this deeper learning model. So very excited about that. And then we will also be launching the learning modules, the online learning modules at that time. So there's a lot to look forward to at the AIM conference. Please join us. Don't miss it. It's October 7 through 9, and we'll be there. We hope you will be too.
Awesome. With that, and we'll just say thank you so much for all of that. Thank you again for joining us today. Thank you for taking time out of your summer. So excited to see you guys in person at AIM. Thank you again for all of the things you do for the students across the state of North Carolina. This is such important work, and I couldn't do it without you. Hope you have a great rest of your summer.